The story begins with a quiet question, one that feels small at first, but grows bigger the more you think about it. What if the Mughal Empire, one of the largest and richest empires in history, never collapsed? What if its power continued, its cities kept expanding, its army stayed unbeatable, and its culture shaped the South Asian world all the way into today? This question is not just alternate history. It is a doorway into a world that could have been. And once you step inside, you might not want to step back out. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enter this world, we must first look at the moment everything started falling apart. The Mughal Empire did not collapse in one night. It weakened slowly, like a giant tree losing its strength, branch by branch. After Aurangzeb's long rule ended in 1707, the empire faced one challenge after another. The successors were not strong enough, the treasury could not handle the pressure of constant wars, and regional rulers began breaking away. By the time the British arrived with their ships, trade networks, and political tricks, the empire was already struggling to breathe. But what if all those weak links never appeared? What if the empire found a way to stay stable, wealthy, and powerful for centuries? That is the world we are entering now. The first major change in this alternate timeline begins right after Aurangzeb's death. Instead of a messy war of succession, the Mughal princes agree on a clear leader, someone capable, patient, and not controlled by court politics. This single decision stops years of internal chaos. Trade routes stay open, armies stay united, and the treasury remains protected instead of being drained by civil wars. A stable throne could have given the empire the balance it desperately needed. With stability at the top, the empire could begin the most important transformation: modernization. The world in the 1700s was already shifting. Europe was entering a scientific age. New weapons, new industries, and new political ideas were spreading. In our real timeline, the Mughal Empire reacted slowly. But in this alternate timeline, the Mughals act early. They bring in engineers from the Ottoman Empire, mathematicians from Persia, and even naval experts from Europe. Workshops in Delhi, Lahore, and Agra begin producing stronger cannons, better rifles, and eventually early steam technology. This modernization is not about copying the West, it is about keeping their power in a changing world. With modern weapons and strong leadership, the empire faces its first great test: the rise of regional powers. The Marathas, Sikhs, Rajputs, and several southern states had grown confident during the Mughal decline in real history. But in this alternate world, the empire negotiates, unites, and sometimes fights with a much stronger hand. Instead of breaking apart, the empire becomes a federation of local powers, where each region keeps its local identity, but accepts the Mughal emperor as the supreme authority. This version of the empire is more flexible, more political, and far more intelligent than the rigid structure of the past. Now the growing shadow of European powers begins approaching Indian shores. The British, French, Dutch, and Portuguese are all looking for wealth and influence. In our real history, they found the perfect opportunity in India's political weakness. But in this alternate timeline, they see the opposite: a huge, united, modernizing empire with a powerful army and a sharp diplomatic mind. Instead of easily taking control, the Europeans must negotiate. They are allowed to trade, but under strict Mughal laws. They build factories, but only with supervision. They open ports, but only after sharing a percentage of profits with the empire. The British East India Company does not become a ruler here, only a business partner. This changes everything. Without British rule, the Industrial Revolution spreads differently across South Asia. Mughal cities become centres of science and manufacturing. Calcutta and Bombay grow into major port cities, but they grow under Mughal control, not British. Universities in Delhi and Lahore attract scholars from across Asia. Roads and rail lines are built earlier, connecting the empire in ways that were never possible in real history. And most importantly, local industries, especially textiles, metalwork and shipbuilding, keep expanding instead of collapsing under foreign competition. Culturally, the effects are even more interesting. The Mughal Empire was always a blend of many traditions: Persian, Central Asian, Indian, and later European. In this alternate world, that cultural blend becomes even richer. Urdu becomes a major literary language across the empire. But regional languages like Bengali, Marathi, Tamil, and Punjabi keep growing strong, protected by Mughal policy. Architecture also evolves. The classic Mughal style, large domes, marble, intricate carvings, mixes with modern engineering. Cities like Hyderabad, Delhi, and Lucknow would be filled with massive new monuments that blend tradition with new technology. Religion in this timeline also develops differently. The Mughal policy in this world focuses on harmony, not division. Because the empire remains strong, extremist voices on all sides stay small. Trade, education, and shared culture keep the population connected. Festivals become national events, celebrated across regions. The idea of a shared South Asian identity forms much earlier. The painful religious conflicts of the 19th and 20th centuries, which shaped real history, are far less likely to grow under a stable and culturally confident Mughal state. Now let's look at the political structure of the 1800s and 1900s in this alternate world. By that time, the empire has transformed into something closer to a constitutional monarchy. The emperor still holds symbolic power, but elected regional leaders manage day-to-day governance. Provinces send representatives to a central council, forming an early version of a parliament. This system helps the empire survive new challenges: industrialization, nationalism, and global politics, without collapsing. Instead of breaking into separate countries, South Asia enters the modern era as one giant power, similar to the United States or the European Union, but with much deeper historical roots. Global politics in the 20th century look completely different because of this. When World War I and World War II arrive, the Mughal-led South Asian Union becomes a key global force, not a colony. Its armies are modern and well-equipped. Its economy is powerful. Its voice shapes world decisions. The empire becomes a founding member of global institutions. Delhi stands beside London, Washington, and Moscow as one of the most influential capitals in the world. And what about technology? With a huge population, a rich economy, and hundreds of years of uninterrupted stability, the empire becomes a leader in science. Space research centres might rise in places like Bengaluru, Delhi, or Karachi long before they did in our real history. Medical breakthroughs come earlier. Computers and communication networks spread across the empire, connecting cities and villages. Instead of competing nations in South Asia, there is one united technological giant, pushing forward as a global leader. Now, let's shift toward how everyday life would look today. The food culture would be diverse and thriving. Street food from every region would mix in every city. Travel across the empire would be simple, with high-speed trains connecting Kabul to Dhaka and Lahore to Chennai. Languages would mix more freely, creating a population that is multilingual and comfortable with cultural diversity. Bollywood might not exist in its current form, because the entire empire would have a massive shared entertainment industry, with studios spread across several cities. Cricket would still be huge, but instead of India versus Pakistan or India versus Bangladesh, all those players would belong to one national team, and it would probably be unstoppable. Finally, think about identity. Today, South Asia is divided into many countries, each with its own struggles and successes. But in this alternate world, millions of people would share one unified identity, not based on religion, not based on region, but based on a shared history, shared culture, and shared pride in a long-lasting empire that never fell. So what does this teach us? The fall of the Mughal Empire shaped everything we know about modern South Asia. It influenced languages, borders, politics, and the entire direction of history. But if the empire had survived, strong, modern, and unified, the world we live in today would look very different. Perhaps more stable, perhaps more advanced, perhaps more connected. This alternate history cannot change our real world, but it reveals one thing clearly: the choices of rulers, the strength of institutions, and the unity of people have the power to shift the destiny of entire civilizations. And in this story, the Mughal Empire does not fade into history. It rises, adapts, modernizes, and continues shining into the present day. A living giant shaping the world with its wealth, wisdom, and unmatched legacy.